Eugene Crimo III withdrew from Highland Park High School before completing his junior year. He adopted the moniker Awake as a rapper and distributed his music through popular platforms such as Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Music. Unfortunately, his music contained explicit references to conspiracy theories, including disturbing elements like mass shootings and violent interactions with law enforcement. Some of his YouTube videos depicted graphic scenes, including shootings by the police, and even featured narrations hinting at fatalistic tendencies. However, his online presence has been disabled, and his music is no longer accessible. Crimo was a frequent visitor to an online message board where discussions involving graphic content of death took place. He even posted a beheading video shortly before a notable incident. Additionally, Crimo maintained his own Discord server, which was later infiltrated by users from the image board website Forshan following the mentioned incident. This led to the server's closure. Stephen Harrison from Slate suggested that Crimo may have attempted to create a Wikipedia article about himself using a separate account in 2017 and 2018, but these efforts were unsuccessful. Nevertheless, an account with the same username did manage to create articles about Crimo on fandom sites like Wikitubia and the RapWiki. Crimo was an avid supporter of former President Donald Trump and frequently participated in far-right gatherings. He was recognizable for wearing Where's Waldo attire and actively engaging in confrontations during counter-protests. Information gathered from police records and individuals acquainted with Crimo implies that he came from a troubled family background. At a young age, his mother left him unattended in a car with closed windows on a hot day, resulting in legal action for child endangerment. Between 2009 and 2014, the police visited Crimo's family home almost 20 times, with many of these visits involving domestic violence incidents. In 2010, Crimo's father accused his wife of assault but later withdrew the claim. Police suggested the couple seek marriage, counseling, or separation, and they ultimately chose to live apart. Law enforcement officials noted two previous encounters with Crimo. The first occurred in April 2019 when a 911 call reported his attempted suicide. The second incident occurred in September 2019 and involved alleged threats attributed to Crimo directed at a family member. This was in relation to his prior suicide attempt, and mental health professionals were involved in managing the situation. During that same month, in September 2019, law enforcement confiscated 16 knives, a dagger, and a sword from Crimo after a family member alerted them about his potential intentions to harm others. However, Crimo's father asserted ownership of the weapons, and both parents denied that Crimo had issued any threats, even though no charges were filed against him at that time. A report highlighting a clear and present danger was submitted to the Illinois State Police. In December of that year, Crimo applied for a firearm owner identification FOID card, with sponsorship from his father due to his age. Throughout both of these incidents, the Highland Park police had the option to invoke Illinois' red flag law, which could have enabled them to seek a restraining order to prevent Crimo from purchasing firearms for a period of up to 6 months. However, they opted not to pursue this course of action. Just 4 months later, in January 2020, the Illinois State Police approved Crimo's application for a firearms permit, and he successfully passed 4 background checks when acquiring firearms in 2020 and 2021. When questioned about why the clear and present danger report did not prevent Crimo from obtaining a FOID card, the Illinois State Police explained that Crimo had denied any intention to cause harm to himself or others during their questioning. Additionally, they mentioned that no one, including family members, had come forward to file a complaint or provide relevant information regarding threats or mental health concerns that could have prompted further intervention from law enforcement. Robert Crimo Jr., Crimo's 58-year-old father, lived with his son and maintained that there were no apparent warning signs leading up to the shooting incident. Despite past incidents that had raised concerns with the police, Crimo Jr. expressed no regrets about sponsoring his son's application for an Illinois FOID card, which granted him legal access to purchase firearms. Crimo Jr. described the situation as a nightmarish ordeal and expressed shock at his son's behavior, believing he had been raised with strong moral values. In an interview with the New York Post the day after the shooting, Crimo Jr. mentioned that his son had discussed the 2022 Copenhagen Mall shooting and the Danish suspect on the night before the incident. However, he evaded accepting responsibility or guilt regarding how the suspect had obtained his firearm. Crimo Jr., a resident of Highland Park who grew up in Highwood and Buffalo Grove, lived with his wife Denise Crimo, a Highland Park native with a criminal history dating back to mid-2002. On December 16, 2022, Crimo Jr. was arrested without incident and charged with 7 counts of reckless conduct associated with the shooting. Lake County State's Attorney Eric Reinhardt stated that Crimo Jr. surrendered to the Highwood police, and the charges stemmed from his sponsorship of his 19-year-old son's gun license application in 2019. Crimo Jr. was granted release on a bail of $50,000 on the morning of December 17th. On February 16, 2023, he entered a plea of not guilty to the charges related to his son's gun license acquisition in 2019. During the Independence Day parade in Highland Park, Illinois on July 4, 2022, at approximately 10:14 a.m., Robert Crimo initiated gunfire into the crowd from the rooftop of the local Ross Cosmetics building situated at the northwest corner of Central Avenue and 2nd Street. Crimo gained access to the elevated vantage point by utilizing an unsecured ladder attached to the building. He employed a Smith & Wesson MP-15 semi-automatic rifle equipped with 330-round magazines. In total, he discharged 83 rounds, resulting in injuries to both parade, spectators, and participants. Prior to the arrival of emergency responders, at least one parade attendee offered aid to the wounded. Video footage captured by Lynn Sweet, a spectator and reporter from the Chicago Sun-Times, depicts a klezmer band on a float persisting in their performance despite the gunfire, while frightened attendees can be observed fleeing and uttering screams. Numerous attendees also photographed the chaotic scene and shared the images on social media platforms. The shooting incident triggered a rapid response from over 100 law enforcement officers representing different agencies. As the law enforcement personnel advanced toward the building, Robert ceased firing, prompting him to flee the scene and successfully evade immediate apprehension. During his attempt to flee, the rifle he had utilized slipped out of his bag and was swiftly recovered by the police. Subsequently, he drove to the Madison, Wisconsin area with a Kel-Tec Sub 2000 semi-automatic rifle present in his vehicle. While in Madison, he briefly entertained the idea of targeting another Independence Day celebration, but eventually chose against it. He discarded his cell phone in Middleton, Wisconsin. There were suspicions that, after leaving the scene, Crimo borrowed his mother's car and journeyed to Madison. A driver from Waukegan, accompanied by passengers, spotted Crimo's damaged 2010 Honda Fit along the southbound U.S. Route 41 near Wadsworth. Over the subsequent 13 minutes, they relayed information about this sighting to 911 operators. Ultimately, Crimo was intercepted by North Chicago police and Lake County Sheriff units at the intersection of U.S. Route 41 and Wesley Road in Lake Forest, Illinois. His apprehension took place around 6:30 p.m., more than 8 hours after the commencement of the shooting. The attack resulted in a devastating loss of 7 lives, with an additional 48 individuals sustaining injuries from either gunshots or shrapnel. Among the victims, 5 adults lost their lives immediately at the scene, while 2 others succumbed to their injuries later at the hospital. Mexican authorities confirmed that 2 of the deceased individuals were natives of Mexico. One of them was a 78-year-old Mexican grandfather who was visiting family in the area, and the other was a 69-year-old man. Furthermore, 2 Jewish victims, a 63-year-old woman and an 8-year-old grandfather, tragically lost their lives. An additional victim was identified as a 64-year-old mother of 2. Among the fatalities, there was also a married couple in their 30s who had attended the parade with their 2-year-old son. Heartbreakingly, the couple lost their lives while their young child survived and was found wandering unaccompanied. The victims of the shooting spanned a wide age range, from 8 to 88 years old. Highland Park Hospital reported providing medical care to 26 individuals impacted by the shooting, with 25 of them sustaining gunshot wounds. 5 of these were subsequently transferred to Evanston Hospital for further treatment. Moreover, 4 of the injured were transported to Glenbrook Hospital, while several others were taken to hospitals outside the North Shore University Medical System network. Collaborative efforts between Highland Park authorities, the FBI, Illinois State Police, and Chicago Police were deployed for a comprehensive investigation and manhunt. Their collective conclusion affirmed the involvement of a lone shooter, describing the shooting as a blend of randomness and intentionality. Following the arrest, FBI agents executed a search at Crimo's residence in Highwood, a neighboring suburb situated just north of Highland Park. Lake County police alleged that Crimo had been plotting the attack for multiple weeks. During the incident, he purportedly concealed his identity by donning women's clothing and masking his facial tattoos, aiming to blend in with the panicked parade attendees in his bid to flee. Highland Park's mayor, Nancy Rodering, voiced her belief that the weapon employed in the crime had been procured legally. Law enforcement confiscated 3 rifles, 1 shotgun, and 1 handgun from Crimo. The motives behind his actions, however, remain elusive. The London-based Institute for Strategic Dialogue noted that Crimo's extensive online presence appeared to align with far-right and neo-fascist ideologies. A rabbi from Highland Park disclosed that Crimo had entered the Central Avenue Synagogue, a Chabad house, during a Passover Seder 3 months prior to the shooting and had been asked to leave. Notably, the Chabad house was located merely 2 blocks away from the site of the July 4th shooting. Yet investigators have not uncovered any evidence indicating racial or religious motivations for the attack. Michael Masters, the national director and CEO of the Secure Community Network in Chicago, indicated that there were no explicit signs of an anti-Semitic attack in Crimo's social media posts. Still, his organization continued to cooperate closely with law enforcement. Masters added that clues from social media suggested that Crimo had been contemplating an attack around the July 4th period, implying that the assault wasn't directed at any specific community. Experts knowledgeable about QAnon and conspiracy theory movements highlighted that Crimo's online activities, although extreme, diverged from the realm of QAnon. Mike Rothschild, an author with extensive insight into QAnon, mentioned that Crimo's online world was markedly distinct from QAnon, centering around a subculture on platforms like 4chan, characterized by ironic Nazi and anime music with fascist undertones, and fantasies of mass shooters. The content he consumed was steeped in irony and despair. On July 5th, Robert Crimo was formally indicted with 7 counts of first-degree murder. The subsequent day, he confessed to the shooting. The Lake County Sheriff's Office confirmed that he's being detained without bail. Initially, a preliminary hearing was scheduled for July 28, 2022. However, a grand jury in Lake County, Illinois, indicted Crimo on July 27, 2022. The indictment encompassed a total of 117 felony counts, including 3 counts of first-degree murder for each of the 7 deceased victims, totaling 21 counts. Additionally, for the 48 victims struck by bullets or shrapnel, he faced 1 count of attempted murder and 1 count of aggravated battery for each, amounting to 48 counts of each.